It was what I had hoped trucking would be, and I was enjoying every minute of it. At least for now. Dun dun dun! Hello friends, and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact, and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. Thank you so much. Today, we are jumping into r/StoriesAboutKevin. You know what it is. It is the conclusion of the Kevin in a Big Rig saga. First Kevin, I mean, something bad is gonna happen to somebody today. Either first Kevin's gonna lose out real hard, or Strong Bad Jr. or OP is gonna lose out real hard. It's a nice, succinct little series, and I have been enjoying myself, so I'm excited to see how it all turns out. Hopefully OP is able to get out of this situation. I got no love for Kevin. I don't really care what happens to him, but I do want to see him get off the road, so fingers crossed for that. I do want to mention that we are live streaming this whole thing over on Twitch, so if you can come visit me, that will be so super cool. Thank you so much in advance. Link is in the description. Let's go ahead and get some additional plugs and disclaimers out of the way, and then we will dive right into some of the stories about Kevin cringe. Kevin in a Big Rig, Part 9, Nuclear Winter. Patrolling the Mojave, etc., etc. Hey, Fallout New Vegas, how you doing? Is that a reference, or are you actually talking about nuclear winter?
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
It's gonna be a cold day, I'm pretty sure. Oh, it's gonna be so delicious. I'm sure there's gonna be some fireworks. So hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Kevin in a Big Rig. If you haven't already, please check out the previous posts in this series before continuing, particularly parts 2 through 7, in order to get up to speed on the story so far. So many of you have been begging for the conclusion of the first Kevin saga, and have been anxiously watching Reddit and YouTube, waiting for that grand finale. Oh yeah, salivating. I mean, honestly, it was posted a year ago. You could have gone and read it yourself. That's kind of the part I like about it already being up. But I get to put my own spin on it, okay? I know it seems like I've been intentionally tormenting you with cliffhangers, but I can assure you that I am simply trying to balance narrative content and maintaining a manageable length. Don't even bother. Hit me with whatever, 5,000 words, 6,000 words. It's gonna be fine. I'll slog my way through it. Finishing with cliffhangers allows me to provide a quality story without tying up hours of your time. I got time, bro. But this time, there will be no cliffhanger. That being said, I suggest you start reading with a full coffee cup and an empty bladder, because this is going to be a long one. Oh, shit. Oh, no. I mean, the coffee cup isn't quite full, but it's also like a giant Snorlax mug that's like over a liter. I don't need that much coffee, okay? My kidneys are gonna kick my own ass at a certain point. So I'm good. I'm ready. Let's do it. And so, to put an end to the suffering, let's get into Kevin in a Big Rig Part 9, Nuclear Winter. Backstory: this installment begins immediately after the events in part number 8. If you haven't seen that, link in the description. You know how we do around here by now. Maybe not. If you're new, welcome. Links in the description. Am I helping? It wasn't long after leaving that truck stop in Wisconsin that I began regretting my decision to push on. It seemed as if the storm had been watching us since we left Lewiston and decided to lay a trap for us once we crossed back into Minnesota on that remote 2-lane highway. Every moment that passed brought heavier snowfall, falling temperatures, and winds that threatened to push the truck into a ditch and leave us completely stranded. Even as the sun went down and the sky turned to pitch black, there was no sign that the storm was inclined to show any mercy. I love this as a narrative device, okay? Weather being sentient, yes, they're coming after me now. It's always really entertaining. It adds a great deal of tension to the story. So well done, Strong Bad Jr. I don't know why you still driving trucks. Write a book. Oh yeah, writing probably doesn't pay as much as driving a truck. Good point, good point. On the contrary, it seemed dead set on punishing me for the hell that I had unleashed on this company just a few days before. You know, karma can be a bitch like that. Honestly, I don't think it was karma coming down, okay? You're doing the right thing here. Getting Kevin off the road, who knows how many lives you're saving, honestly. I've learned that during times of life-threatening conditions beyond the control of mortal humans, people have one of two reactions. Many, unable to cope with having their fate in hands other than their own, become overwhelmed with anxiety and give in to irrational panic. God, that sounds like me looking at the YouTube stats, honestly. Those who are unwilling to simply resign themselves to whatever fate may have in store will stop at nothing until they find a way to cheat fate long enough to make an escape. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Never stop fighting. I don't care if it's an intangible winter storm. You bite back. Take a gun and shoot at the hurricane. Like that dude down in Florida, remember? It's crazy. That night, I knew that giving into fear would more than likely end in our deaths. At the very least, we would be stranded in the middle of nowhere until someone dug us out of several feet of snow. Maintaining control of both myself and the truck was non-negotiable, at least if I wanted to live to see the next morning. Since fear and panic would serve no purpose, I disengaged the emotional parts of my brain and relied purely on instinct and skill and training. I mean, a certain amount of fear is good. It serves to keep you safe. It's in there for a biological function, okay? It's not just to distract you. But yeah, I guess if it is distracting you and it's not aiding the job at hand and you're capable of turning it off completely, then do that. But honestly, I don't think you're capable of turning off completely. That's not something humans can do. You just don't lean into it. You're like, that's fine. I'm scared and that's fine. That's called courage, son. As the night wore on and the conditions steadily worsened, I could feel my control of the situation waning with each mile that passed by. The increasingly heavy snowfall limited visibility to a couple dozen meters, and the wind hammered against the trailer as if it were the sail of a tall ship. The narrow roads offered very little margin for error, and the strong wind gusts required precise corrections in order to keep all 18 wheels on the asphalt. Oh my god, dude. This is like high tension stuff. This is why truck drivers get paid so much. You're like, oh, all they're doing is driving around. It's like, yeah, but I don't think I could do this, honestly. I don't have the nerve for that. The headlights, to their credit, did the best that they could to light the way forward, but with the combined onslaught of dense snow, both falling from the sky and being blown in front of the truck, the headlights hampered visibility almost as often as they assisted. As visibility oscillated between meters to inches and back within a span of seconds, I had to rely on instinct and timing to keep the truck between the ditches. At times, the snow was so thick that even the beams from the headlights disappeared completely underneath a blanket of white powder. And not the fun kind of white powder either, right?
Cocaine.
To say that I wasn't attempted to abandon the trip and take my chances with keeping fuck out of the seat would just be a complete lie. I don't know how many suitable parking places I passed that night. Many I very nearly took advantage of, only to change my mind at the last second and push deeper into the storm. When I passed a small mom and pop truck stop that, in spite of the frozen tempest, was still open, offering food and shelter and safe harbor, I was convinced that I had gone completely insane. Who in their right mind would forego sanctuary when the odds were so heavily stacked against him? And the answer to that is someone on a mission. Do not be swayed, OP. You got a place to be and you're gonna be there. If you run out of drive time now, if Kevin has to take over, you know he's never gonna drive in the storm, and then yeah, you're gonna be stuck buried under 7 feet of ice. And yes, that would be our intrepid OP, apparently. Each time the temptation of seeking shelter crossed my mind, I was immediately reminded that we were well off the beaten path as far as safety was concerned. Kevin, completely oblivious as to what was waiting for us, wouldn't think twice before diving headfirst into the storm until he received an order to shut down that I knew would never come. Oh, kind of the opposite problem of what I interpreted, I guess. Maybe I don't remember part 8 that well. But regardless, yeah, he's dumb. Don't put him in charge, okay? Please. It's gonna end badly either way. At that point, I guess I'd rather be buried under 7 feet of ice. His needlessly heavy braking, teeth-rattling gear changes, and the inability to drive 5 minutes without taking his eyes off the road to check his notebooks would slash our chances of making it through the night from remote to non-existent. The only way to keep Kevin out of the driver's seat, short of outright killing him, which is tempting, was to make sure that my backside did not leave that seat. So for me, the entire night was an unending exercise in keeping my growing fear in check. Bravery, courage, you got this, OP. And what's the worst that can happen? You end up in a ditch. Oh well. I did my best, okay? That's all anybody could ask. Before that night, the most terrifying situation I could remember being in was the time that I was doing my solo cross-country flight as part of the training for my pilot's license. Oh snap, you a pilot too? Why are you driving a truck then? Don't pilots make more? I don't know, maybe it's harder to find a job or something. That day I found myself alone in a small airplane, dodging an intense line of thunderstorms while also being completely lost. I mention it here because during that long, snow-laden hell, my mind kept going back to that day of dodging those thunderstorms. I made it out of that nightmare alive and arrived at my destination before the storms overtook me by sticking to my training. Keep calm. Avoid areas of limited visibility. Use everything that I had to find the runway and get on the ground as quickly as possible. As strange as it sounds, remembering that brush with death at the hands of Mother Nature brought me some small amount of comfort. I made it out of that death trap alive, so I could surely make it through this one. I don't know if the logic really holds up there, but whatever you need to get you through, hang on to that. It's gonna be absolutely fine, probably. And also, if it's not, then it won't be. And that's okay, too. We'll probably make it through that as well. Driving through a blizzard isn't a skill that they teach at CDL school. However, the ability to operate in limited visibility on slick roads and high winds are all concepts that are included in the training. I had faced all 3 challenges before that night in a truck. This was simply the first time that I had to deal with all 3 of them at once. Oh yeah, what a trifecta! Fortunately, all 3 problems required the same solution. Slow down, maintain a stable speed, and avoid rapidly changing in speed or direction. It was something that my instructors at the school, as well as my trainer, had emphasized heavily. Fortunately for me, and Kevin, I guess, I paid attention in that class. Imagine you put Kevin behind the wheel doing this thing. You're gonna be in a ditch in no time flat. He literally wants somebody to hold his hand the whole time. Instruct him the entire time. It doesn't say anything about maintaining a stable speed in the book. I'm not gonna slow down until the safety tells me to slow down. Yeah, well, you're a bigger idiot than we thought, aren't you? I don't know exactly how long I pushed through that ice-covered nightmare. Oh, snow levels. Only thing worse is water levels, and guess what? The big rig doesn't work in underwater levels. Unless it's big rigs over-the-road racing. There were times when that truck felt as if it were about to just give up and skid off the road, only to oblige my corrections and keep going for just a little bit longer. Each time I came upon a bridge or an overpass, my sphincter would tighten up so quick that it felt as though my butt cheeks were biting holes into the seat. Hey, you know, if you boof the seat, it's free, or something like that. Whenever the truck dropped into a small valley, the cross-current snowdrifts resulted in a few heart-stopping moments of complete blindness until the truck climbed out through the far side. With each passing moment, a new threat presented itself, and each time, I did my best to push through. You got this. You're gonna be fine. Probably. Like I said, if you're not, then we deal with that. But just keep believing. Hope floats in that. Call it skill, luck, relentless stubbornness, or just divine intervention. One guess would be as good as the other. Regardless, with less than 10 miles left until reaching the company's main terminal, the blizzard had finally begun to tire itself out. Oh yeah, just in time too. Why not keep it going the whole way? How you gonna quit on me now, you bitch? The snow continued to fall in heavy sheets, but the wind had abated to a more manageable level, and the visibility improved dramatically. As the remote countryside gave way to the outermost edges of the town, white and orange streetlights revealed what resembled a post-apocalyptic cityscape. Every store, gas station, and restaurant was dark and empty, as if the entire town had been evacuated. Oh shit, we headed right into a zombie flick. Stay in the truck, OP. Don't go outside. I know what happens next. I've seen it like 100 times, all right? When I finally pulled into that terminal parking lot, set the truck brakes, and put myself off duty, I didn't feel relieved or grateful. In fact, I don't remember feeling anything. I sat in the driver's seat for a good half hour, smoking a cigarette in an attempt to bring myself back from whatever trance I had fallen into. No, the trance seemed pretty good. It worked out well. Keep yourself in that trance for as long as possible. I watched the snow through the windshield while trying to come to grips with what had taken place over the past few hours. Winter had thrown everything that it had at me, and despite even my own predictions, I made it out alive and in one piece. I didn't break out in tears, nor did I feel the need to shout in triumph. I was simply exhausted, mentally and physically. That's all right. You'll look back on this point in your life and you'll celebrate later. For right now, yeah, just recoup yourself a little bit. That's fine. I get it. Driving a car under normal circumstances is very mentally draining. I can't imagine doing it through the middle of a blizzard. Forget about it. When the need to pee came upon me, I got out of the truck. No, don't even bother. Just find a big gulp cup. You'll be all right. Being late at night, all the offices and shops were closed, but the company maintained a 24-hour restroom and shower facility at the shop for drivers who were camped out in the terminal. However, at the moment that I needed to make use of the facility, it was closed for cleaning. There was a wet floor sign in the middle of the restroom, a chain across the door, and not a single living soul inside. Whatever, fuck it, bro. You think a sign gonna stop me? Well, you gotta go, you gotta go.
That sign can't stop me because I can't read.
The floor was covered with melted snow and dirt, much like that on the bottom of my own boots. No harm in soiling what's already dirty, I think, so I go inside and relieve myself. On the way out, as luck would have it, the shop assistant who had been assigned to clean that particular restroom came back from whatever had interrupted his job. Yeah, that's a smoke break. He ain't doing a goddamn thing in the middle of the night. Like, some issue is so pressing, he's like, I can't do this right now. When he saw me, he apparently took my trespass on his workspace as a personal affront. Hey, he said with a tone that would make any Karen jealous. Are you stupid? Can't you read the fucking sign? I, not missing a beat, reply, would you rather I stand at the door and piss on the floor? Asshole. It's a good response, honestly. I was not in the mood to deal with a bad attitude at that point. The assistant gets into a huff. You damn drivers! I'm so tired of your shit! He never finished his sentence as I, a good deal larger than him, got right in his face, looked him dead in the eye, and raised a finger in warning. This sign can't stop me because I can't read! Nah, that's not what OP said. But that would be funny though, right? He said, don't mess with me, shithead! Not tonight, I warned him. After the hell that I had just gone through, I had no intention of allowing some self-important peon to tell me that I couldn't relieve an empty bladder because my dirty boots would make his floor even dirtier. I don't know about calling him a peon, but yeah, he is being a jerk. I'll go for jerk. Don't put yourself in a higher station than him just because he has to mop the floors. He's obviously very passionate about mopping his floors. A jerk about it, as some might say. Back outside, I light another cigarette and stand beneath the awning, watching the snow fall through the lamplights. Then, as is habit, I took out my phone. I see an unread email. It must have come through during the drive, and I didn't realize. It was from my fleet manager, and I was suddenly reminded as to why I had made that nightmare of a journey. That email, I knew, would set the stage for a fight that I had been waiting for. Where, when, who, and what would be involved would all be outlined in that message. For the past few days, I had considered every possible contingency of this meeting, and I felt more than ready. In my point of view, I held all the cards, and I controlled the terms. Any threats or attempts at coercion, and they would quickly find themselves in a world of hurt. I was ready for anything, and I opened the email. I mean, I don't know if you should gas yourself up too much, OP. They might come completely out of left field with something you didn't expect, but I think it's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be fine, probably. And if it's not, then we'll deal with that too. Seems to be the theme for this episode. OP, when you get to the terminal, move on to truck 3456 and meet with driver Bob, ID 9123, not his real name. We'll send instructions in the morning. Fleet manager. Okay, I wasn't ready for that, but it's everything that you ever wanted, isn't it, OP? Come on, let's celebrate or something. I mean, once you recoup your energy and stuff. I did want a new partner, true enough, but I had no idea that they would move that quickly. I didn't know who Bob was or why I was being assigned to his truck. Maybe Bob did. There was really only one way to find out. I mean, are you not excited that they're doing the thing that you wanted them to do? You got a new partner. Okay, game over. I would also appreciate first Kevin being fired, but we take what we could get at this point, right? So I go back to the truck. Kevin had been asleep during the entire trip from Wisconsin to the terminal. Just as well, since any snarky comment from him during that blizzard might have been made with his last breath. But now he was wide awake and poring over the computer. Oh, now he gives a shit. Now that he's conscious, he cares where we are, right? Where are we? He asked. I go straight to the bunk and begin packing my gear. Main terminal. Fleet manager called me earlier and told me to get here right away. What's the deal? You'll find out soon enough, buddy. Don't you worry your pretty little head, okay? At this point, I could have let him in on what he might expect. However, I believe that finding oneself in a fair fight is a sign of poor tactics. Ooh, that's low. That's dirty, OP. That's exactly what I would have done, OP. Up top. OP just says, I don't know, but I've been assigned to another truck. Kevin said nothing. He had been completely taken by surprise, and he had no idea what he was likely in for. Then again, neither did I. I expected to go a few rounds with safety the next morning, and now I'm packing my bags for a new truck. Kevin simply got out of the truck, and I never saw him again. What? Come on, what happened to him? Don't do me like that. I packed my belongings, left my key in the glove box, and left that truck for the last time. A few moments later, I'm knocking on the door of a new truck. Are you Bob? I asked the driver when he answers. Yeah, he said, rubbing his eyes since I had just woke him up. Are you OP? That's me, I reply and climb aboard. Sorry to wake you. We just got in here. At first, this doesn't really register with him. And then he realizes what I just told him. Wait, you drove through that shit? Yeah, needs must and all that. I really had to pee. And then the janitor yelled at me. Can you believe it? No, you don't want to tell him that I just got my previous partner fired. That's probably starting off on the wrong foot, right? So you just little white lie your way through it. It's going to be okay. And if it's not, whatever. I take a deep breath and say, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it if you're curious. You must be nuts, Bob said. You have no idea. I guess we're partners now, I say. Bob screws his face at me. No, he said, confused. My partner's waiting for me in Pennsylvania. I was supposed to leave out yesterday afternoon, but fleet manager called and told me to wait for you. I figured you'd know what the deal was. I give him the basic rundown of what happened with my now former co-driver, how I reported him to safety, and now relayed back to the main terminal. Damn, man, he said. Sounds like a tough gig. Understatement of the year, I do think. Yeah, I guess if he's not your partner, it doesn't do any harm to tell the whole sordid tale. But again, probably not getting you off on the right foot there. I'd probably wind my way around that. Anyways, the next morning, the weather had broken. The sky was dull and threatened to bring more snow, but the wind had at least dulled down to a gentle breeze. As soon as she was in the office, fleet manager gave me a call. Hey, OP, she said, sounding a bit nervous. Where are you guys at? Sitting in the yard? Wait, she replied, sounding a little confused. You made it in last night? Sure did. What in God's name possessed you to drive through that storm? I take a deep breath. It would be best if I did not elaborate on that point. She wanted to press for more information, but decided not to. Uh-huh. Did you meet with Bob and move to his truck? Sure did. What's the deal? You and Bob are gonna take a load to the terminal in Pennsylvania. His co-driver will meet him there. I'm gonna have you pick up another truck and we'll go from there. Okay, I respond cautiously. Am I gonna meet my new co-driver up there too? No, we haven't found you one yet. Just check in with me when you get there and we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's gonna turn out fine. And if it doesn't, I must stop saying that now. But OP says, okay, no problem. We hang up and I fill Bob in on our new marching orders. The company's terminal in Pennsylvania was about a day and a half with 2 drivers. Fortunately, Bob had already picked up the load before the storm hit, so all we had to do was get rolling. I wonder if Bob's gonna turn out to be a complete asshole. He seems pretty cool off the first bat. And also, I want to know what happened with Kevin. Why are we just on to the next? We don't even discuss what possibly might have happened. They could have taken Kevin out back and shot him, and nobody knew. Since the truck was permanently assigned to Bob, and he had just finished his stint with his trainer, I offered him the first shift drive so he could get used to the truck. As we head out, I got to see the full impact of the previous night's storm. About 24 inches of snow had fallen in just under 12 hours. Jesus Christ. Yeah, my car's not going to make it through that. Everybody snowed in but the big rigs. Every 5 minutes, we saw cars spun out and abandoned in ditches and center medians, and nearly every overpass we came upon, there was at least one vehicle that had lost control and collided with the barrier. There were even semis, jackknifed and abandoned where they hit deadly patches of black ice. Yeah, I guess you just didn't drive slow enough for something like that. Better you than me, how about that? Severe winter weather was common in this part of the country, and even the local residents didn't fare well. I mean, that sucks, bro, but honestly, shouldn't the local residents know better? They're like, oh, that storm's a mess. I ain't going out in that. There's no shame in saying no. We'll go pick up milk tomorrow, sweetheart. When I saw the carnage from the very storm that I had traversed, I realized just how much danger I had actually been in, and how lucky I had been that it was not Kevin who had been the one that was driving.
I'm in danger.
Holy shit, Bob said, after we passed a semi that had been left on the road and was now laying on its side. You drove through this? He is the chosen one. It had to be divine intervention. OP's like, yeah, it's just my training that kept me safe. It's like, no, dude, the hand of God held this trailer upright, okay? I take a deep breath and just say, yep. For being an experienced driver, Bob seemed to know his stuff. For the first time since I finished my time with my trainer, I was riding with someone who actually knew what the hell they were doing. Gasp. I would hope that all people operating semis know what they're doing, but with first Kevin and Chris Trucker, I just don't know, man. I'm not so convinced anymore. I'm seeing through the looking glass, bro. I had known Bob for only a few hours, but I felt much more comfortable with him at the wheel than I ever did with Kevin. And I told him as much. We topped off the tanks at the first fuel stop. I grab a bite of breakfast and head back to the bunk to rest up for my night shift. The rest of the trip to Pennsylvania, I am happy to say, was uneventful. And that is the best kind of job to do. Not a thing to worry about. When Bob and I arrived at the Pennsylvania terminal, we say our goodbyes, and I go sign out my new truck. Oh, it's new, it's nice. The fuse box hasn't been pulled out. I move aboard, store my belongings, and log into the computer before sending a message to the fleet manager that I'm ready to go. An hour later, she sends me a load. Pick up the next morning from a nearby shipper with delivery in Missouri. She says to expect a diversion back to the main terminal along the way, but she'll let me know for sure before the time comes. Okay, kind of roundabout, but you have it your way, I guess. I confirm the instructions and set the computer aside. For a long time, I sat in the driver's seat and looked around the truck. I was all alone. Fuck was 1,000 miles away, and for the time being at least, I had won a battle with management before it had even started. And then, for a reason that I can't fully explain, I started to laugh. Whether it was out of relief or simply submitting to the absurdity of this situation, it felt as though a huge burden had been lifted off of my shoulders, and things were beginning to look up. Yeah, remember when you said earlier that you didn't have the energy to shout from the top of a mountain or whatever? This is that coming out in its own way. Now you rested up and recouped, and now you can be happy about the situation that you made it through. Congratulations, OP. I ended up taking the load all the way to Missouri alone. In fact, I worked solo for the next 2 weeks, and all I can say is it was heaven. That's honestly how I would probably prefer it too. I felt in complete control. Never had to worry about waking up on the shoulder of a highway, not getting an hour of sleep before being drug out of bed to help fuck out of another jam, and no more having my head bounced off a cabinet because of a hard brake check. It was what I had hoped trucking would be, and I was enjoying every minute of it. At least for now. Dun dun dun! After a few days into my solo period, I got a surprise phone call from the last person I ever expected to hear from. First, Kevin was reaching out. Oh my God. Oh no! No, you can't come back. Just hang up the phone now. Block that number. Hey man, Kevin said, sounding less confrontational and, unless I was mistaken, full of anxiety. What are you up to? On my way to Texas, running solo. Cool. Listen, I need a favor. Okay. Can you call safety and tell them that I've been in a coma for 21 hours? What? I say, shocked. You told me 21 days. Countless times. Look, man, this is important. Okay, so you want me to lie to you so you can stay on the road and fuck up somebody else's life completely? No, I don't think that I'm going to do that. Get another job. Go bag some groceries down at the Hinky Dinky. Don't call this number again, Kevin. We're done, and I never want to hear from you again, okay? What's important is getting you off the road, and we seem to have done that, so good. Accomplished. Kevin then goes into a long sob story. According to him, he and his wife went through a nasty divorce. His wife had been granted full custody of their 2 kids. Gee, I wonder why. He seems like such a fit father. He also said that he had been to court and the judge ordered him to come back in a year with gainful employment or he would be sent to jail. I assume that it pertained to spousal or child support, though I don't really know for certain. Do they do that? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Oh, you can't pay child support? We're gonna go have you stamp license plates for 30 cents an hour. Then you'll be able to pay child support. No, dude, I make $20 a month. What do you want from me? I'm pretty sure he's lying about this, right? He's just trying to get the sympathy vote right now. He signed on with the company because they were the only place that would hire him. Yeah, right. Well, I reply, doesn't sound like something that I could help with, but if safety calls, I'll see what I can do. Poor bastard. Had no idea who had put him in that position. Yeah, that is kind of sad, but also, whatever. You deserve this, okay? You made your bed, now lie in it. I hung up and I never heard from him again. I went about having the time of my life. And not only was I having the time of my life, but the fact that I didn't have to waste so much time correcting Kevin's mistakes meant that I was able to make my pickups and deliveries on time, stay on course, and complete my loads without even a single issue. In fact, I didn't need dispatch for anything more than sending load information. I didn't even talk to Fleet Manager for a week and a half before she called me out of the blue. Hey, LP, she said, sounding a little curious. How's everything going? Hey, Fleet Manager. Everything's going fine. What's up? Uh-oh, it's the new partner. You gotta get another Kevin dumped on you. The time of your life is officially over. I'm sorry you had to hear it from me. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Oh, nothing, she replied, relieved and now sounding rather chipper. I haven't heard from you in a while. Well, I say, trying to make it clear I was joking. No offense, but I haven't needed to call you. Oh, that's good to hear. When you and Kevin were together, he was calling me about once a day, needing directions and getting lost. Well, I am not Kevin. Yeah, you've just been tied to an idiot. It doesn't make you an idiot. What do you want from me? No, you're not. Anyway, I'm gonna work on getting you home for a few days. I found you a co-driver, and I'm gonna have you pick him up when you get back to work, because he doesn't live too far from you. And I will admit that I was disappointed by this news. Yes, indeed, good things don't last forever, do they? I was thoroughly enjoying being on my own, but I also knew that solo assignments don't last long. The company relied on expedited freight, loads with tight deadlines that required 2 drivers to make on-time deliveries. Running solo was only allowed as a short-term measure to allow trucks to keep working until a second driver could be found. A few days after the phone call from Fleet Manager, I go home and spend 4 lovely days sleeping in my own bed, sitting on my own couch, and watching my own TV. It does sound pretty boring, I know, but after 3 months of hell with Kevin, there was nowhere else that I wanted to be. Yeah, it's like a tour of duty, bro. You ain't gotta tell me about that. It's beautiful to come on home after you've been away for a long time. And those 4 days passed by all too quickly, and I was assigned to head out back on the road. I met up with my second co-driver, and we'll call him NG for New Guy. Like Bob, New Guy had just completed his month with his trainer and was ready to be a co-driver. While less experienced, he was still a competent enough driver. There's not much more I could say about New Guy. He and I were only partners for a couple of months before he decided to leave for a better job. He wasn't under the same contract as me, and I didn't blame him for leaving, so we parted on good terms. By now, you're probably wondering, what happened to Fuck? When did you and Safety have the Battle Royale? How much damage did the nuclear email actually do?
Oh, that's a lot of damage!
Everything's been leveled. My God, it's all gone. The truth is, I was asking myself those very same questions for the 2.5 months between the last time I saw Kevin and the time that New Guy went on to greener pastures. I decided not to pry, thinking that my little nuclear attack probably painted a target on my back, and that discretion was the better part of valor. After all, I got what I wanted. Kevin was long gone as far as I was concerned, and no matter what he did, he was somebody else's problem. Was I curious? Yeah, sure. Just not curious enough to stretch my neck and try to find out. That's probably the right choice, honestly. Take the victory and walk away. You don't want to risk getting got and all that. When New Guy left, I found myself back in the same position that I had been in before. No suitable co-driver was available. By this time, the company had begun to crack down on solo drivers, and I was routed back to the main terminal until something could be figured out. God, that sucks. What happened in those couple of months? That's terrible. The day I arrived back at the main terminal, I meet with the fleet manager to go over my options. Before that, however, she pulls me into another office with the safety director. Oh, we didn't miss the battle royale. Beautiful. When I see the name plaque on the door, a cold chill ran up my spine. It wasn't the battle that I had been waiting for. In fact, the reason they wanted to meet me had nothing to do with that nuclear email. Oh, well, that's anticlimactic, isn't it? They simply offered to promote me to lead driver. Does it come with extra pay? That's my first question. I'm not taking on any extra responsibilities without extra pay. At first, I wasn't sure that I wanted to deal with more idiot drivers after barely surviving Kevin, but the only other option was to bounce from truck to truck until a permanent co-driver could be found. A prospect that I found equally uncomfortable. I asked for a little time to think about it, and they obliged. I gave my old trainer a call to get his advice. My trainer and I stayed in touch to this day and became pretty good friends. He suggested that I go for it, since I would be the boss, and I could, within reason, boot a bad student off the truck if he proved too dangerous. Oh yes, I have the power to boot, and I will not necessarily be using it responsibly. Get out! Everybody get out! This is my truck and I want to drive it solo. I hadn't considered any of that, and ultimately I did decide to take that job. Later that afternoon, I was back in Fleet Manager's office getting paperwork ready for my new job. While we were waiting for safety to approve the promotion, I decided to ask the question. So, what's Kevin been up to? Fleet Manager buries her face into her hands. Why did you do this, OP? Those 5 words had reopened a nasty wound. Trying to control her frustration, she told me what happened after I left with Bob to Pennsylvania. While I was sent on what was a vacation by comparison, Kevin had been tasked with completing the load that we picked up in Lewiston. However, in typical Kevin fashion, he got lost almost as soon as he left the terminal. Can we not fire him now? Jesus. He had gotten so far off course that the GPS locator on the truck couldn't even be found by dispatch. He's just out in the woods somewhere with the tree folks. It took an entire day to get back on track, only to do the exact same thing twice before finally making that delivery 2 days late. Classic, bro. I bet he's still kicking around the company somewhere. That's horrifying to me. The next day, they sent him another load assignment, but they had to cancel it because he couldn't find the pickup location. Despite the fact that it was less than a mile away. Oh my God. Are you kidding me right now? You have to be kidding me right now. I think you're just not cut out for this, Kevin. Come on back and we'll send you home. We'll cut you a nice severance check. It's gonna be fine. Your wife and kids could probably take it. It was at this point that safety decided to pull him back in until they could get to the bottom of this situation. When he got lost again on the way back, they had him just leave the truck in a truck stop and catch a ride with another truck. Oh my God, I love it. He's so hopeless, dude. He can't tell his ass from a hole in the ground. How has he survived this long? How is he still breathing? Why did they send him back out after the nuclear email? Well, while I never got any solid confirmation, the rumor is that the safety department used it as an experiment, just to see if my claims had any merit. Needless to say, they found out real quick that I was not bullshitting them. If they didn't believe that Kevin was a menace before, they couldn't deny it now. The only question was, what to do with him? Take him out back. You gotta pull a Lenny of Mice and Men. Tell him all about the rabbits. It's fine. They pulled Kevin in for a meeting to get to the bottom of this issue. When asked about why he kept getting lost, he maintained that he was following the company route. Then they asked about why he couldn't find a shipper less than a mile away, and he said he was waiting for the company to send directions. God, he is 100% survived off the kindness of strangers, hasn't he? Darwinism is a failure. We need to wind it back a few hundred years, okay? This man is reproduced. This man has children out there somewhere. Oh God, the gene pool is done. It's all over. As the meeting wore on, Kevin became more and more worrisome. In his opinion, it was the job of the dispatch officer to tell him every move to make, something that was utterly impossible since one dispatcher was often charged with dozens of other trucks and couldn't be expected to babysit each and every one of them. Drivers have to be able to work out issues for themselves and think on their feet when problems arise. Yeah, or else why isn't the whole fleet just robots? Kevin wasn't able to be independent, and whenever the situation required that of him, he ended up in trouble. God damn. I don't think we ever seen a Kevin so hard. There've been some Kevins, but they were like young or something like that. This is an old ass man. I mean, he does have his excuse, but even outside of that excuse, he's shown himself to be a horrible human being. So no sympathy from me. Everything that took place led to one irrefutable conclusion. Kevin was either medically or mentally unfit to operate a commercial vehicle. They had dug into the claim about the 21-day coma, but they had found no mention of that on his paperwork. Despite the fact that two credible witnesses proved corroborating accounts, it wasn't in his file. When they questioned him, he denied it at first, but a brief investigation discovered the truth. It was indeed a 21-day coma. Okay, then that's gross negligence on the company's behalf, right? Why did nobody investigate this further? They're just like, yeah, he's good to go. It's fine. Just put him in a truck, cut him a paycheck. I don't care. Holy God. So how did Kevin manage to slip through the cracks and get a CDL and go for 4 months without being caught? Well, in simple terms, yeah, he lied. Oh, that solves it then. In order to get a CDL, one must have a DOT medical certificate. Part of getting that certificate is completing a rather lengthy questionnaire about medical history, drug or alcohol dependency, illnesses, medical conditions, etc. And one of these questions asks the applicant to describe any brain or neurological injury or condition. Another, more generic and subjective question asked if the applicant had any other conditions that would interfere with the safe operation of a commercial motor vehicle. Kevin, like all other new hires, received a DOT physical soon after he arrived at the training facility where he filled out the questionnaire form. A form that is controlled by the federal government and, per regulation, the company retained this on file. Oh, is he going to get prosecuted for lying on the form? Ooh, this is getting juicy, isn't it? As it happened, Kevin had not told the medical examiner about the coma. I mean, just wait a day or two. He'll tell you the story 5 fucking times. When they asked him about it, he tried to backpedal and say it was a 21-hour coma, but when they checked his medical records, and I don't know how they did this without violating confidentiality laws, they learned that it was, in fact, 21 days. Probably got Kevin to sign off on something. He's an idiot. Not even a lovable idiot. He's just a moron. And with that, Fuck's fate was sealed. He had lied on a government document and obtained a medical certificate and a CDL through fraudulent means. After realizing this, the company had no choice but to report the incident to the Department of Transportation. The DOT, in turn, revoked Kevin's medical certificate, rendering his CDL invalid. This was also reported to the DMV of the state that issued his license, and per state law, the state also revoked his CDL. The company had no choice but to fire him. Kevin had sabotaged his own driving career on day one. I don't know how he thought he would get away with it, honestly. He just convinced himself, it's gonna be all right. I'll just keep checking the notes. It's gonna be okay. Dude couldn't even fake it till he made it. The second they set him out on his own, he's like, hey, where am I supposed to go again? You want me to tie a rope around your dick and lead you around? Is that what you want? Then what am I even paying you for? That should be payment enough. Some people do pay for that, right? I assume. I don't know nothing about that. Let's move it on. Fleet manager, after telling all of this, admitted that she had her doubts about him early on due to an incident that happened before he and I paired up. He was running solo and was supposed to deliver a load in Indianapolis. For whatever reason, Kevin just couldn't find the receiver, and according to GPS pings, actually drove around in circles for 2 full days before someone noticed and asked what was going on. God damn, dude. You should have pulled it at that point. You're the fleet manager, okay? Manage your fucking fleet! How about it, huh? Kevin was less than 2 miles from the delivery point, just driving around in circles. Fleet manager had hoped that another partner would straighten him out, but when it was clear that that wasn't happening, all she could do was apologize to me. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to your goddamn self, all right? You're sorry. You're sorry at your job is what you're sorry for. Get out of my face. I'm still mad at the fleet manager. Maybe she doesn't deserve it 100%, but as far as I'm concerned, everybody could get firebombed. This whole company sucks. But the story does not end with Kevin destroying his own career. Oh no. I made a few friends in the company's head office who were there when the nuclear email hit. And over a period of several months, I was able to fully piece together the story and the fallout of that nuclear email. Bear in mind, it is mostly secondhand information, but they claimed it to be true. After being informed of Kevin's fraud, the DOT wanted to know how someone like him could slip through so easily. You guys had a form. He lied on the form. Nobody seemed to double check that fucking form. The doctor's just like, okay, get out of my office. I'm trying to go to lunch. Get out! When asked how the issue was discovered, the company showed my email to the DOT, who in turn went ballistic. The company, hoping to avoid being prosecuted for negligence, cooperated by conducting an internal audit of the company's policies and procedures. Yeah, I'm sure that helped. Did anybody look at the form? Nobody looked at the form. They found several serious shortcomings in many departments, right down to the recruiter who processed and approved Kevin's application. Apparently, the application was approved before a basic motor vehicle report was completed. How do you know that? It takes a couple days or something? Like I said, this whole company's a mess. Everybody just wants to go to lunch. They're like, yeah, whatever. Sign the paper. Get out of here. I'm having a cheesesteak today. The motor vehicle report showed no fewer than 4 accidents on Fuck's record where he was at fault within the past 3 years, and even one was enough to disqualify him. Oh my God. However, it was later discovered that recruiters were often encouraged or coerced to overlook such things and simply get people to sign up and get them to the training facility. Hell yeah, butts in seats. Sounds like the military, honestly. Apparently, this was to take advantage of a government hiring incentive, despite the fact that drivers weren't officially hired until completing the CDL school. Yeah, but they got all the paperwork ready, right? Before you're even halfway done, they're like, here, sign here, get out, I gotta go to lunch. Additionally, the hours of service compliance department, whose job it was to monitor driver logs and handle violations, had failed to act whenever Kevin, among many other drivers, violated the hours of service regulations. The reasoning for this, so they claimed, is that they were just overwhelmed with correcting errors in driver logs that were made by improperly trained drivers. Yeah, just pass the buck. Pass it on down. It's not my fault. They didn't train him good. It's not my fault. He has brain damage. As a result, they were only allowed to issue notices of non-compliance when the computer flagged consistent violations. Even the safety department found itself under fire when it was revealed that their own people were telling new drivers not to make use of important safety features on the truck. Namely, the engine brakes. Well, shit, Kevin remembered about that, didn't he? There was one thing he would not let go of, and that was it. This became such a concern that, according to rumor, the safety director himself sat in on new hire orientation, and upon hearing the presenter actively discourage the use of engine brakes, removed the presenter from the class on the spot and demanded the orientation course be overhauled as soon as possible. Why wouldn't you do this earlier? Why does it take an internal audit to learn what these presenters that you've hired are presenting to the people that you've hired? It's just a little communication breakdown. It's fine. The trucks will burn out. We'll blow some engines. It's going to be great. Jesus Christ. In the end, it came down to the safety personnel being reminded that they were not drivers, and they had no business giving their opinions in place of facts. Well, this seems pretty basic, doesn't it? The last department to take a major hit was training. After reviewing the company's accident history, it became very clear that many new drivers were not properly trained in several key areas. In order to shorten their time at the training facility, the company preferred to teach students the bare minimum to pass the CDL tests, and then they relied on lead drivers to fill in the gaps. Yeah, just butts in seats. Get them out of here. The problem with this system was that there was very little in the way of a standardized rubric by which a student's driver skills could be assessed. Essentially, lead drivers were just left to their own devices when training these students. Whether or not the student passed or failed was, for the most part, dependent on the lead driver's subjective assessment. Yeah, he's good. Look at him. He's fine. He breathes. He's a butt in a seat. Cut him a paycheck. This whole thing's a mess, bro. If I was the DOT, shut it down. You start over from zero. We're not playing these fucking games anymore. There were other issues that were uncovered during this audit that are all quite technical, but suffice to say that the company had a lot of problems that needed to be fixed and quick. Despite this, the DOT agreed to withhold prosecution under the condition that these problems were to be fixed within a set period of time. Why you play softball with it? Prosecute! This has caused untold problems, okay? It's time to prosecute. If any time is the time, it's now. You think second chances teach lessons? Fuck that! Hit them where it hurts, right in the wallet. Knock them over till they can't feel nothing no more. I heard rumors that a few people were fired due to negligence, but I really have no way of confirming that. I can only assume that things improved because the company is still in operation to this day. As for me, I finished out my 8-month contract as lead driver. When that contract was fulfilled, I leased a truck under the company's independent contractor program in order to make more money. That was the idea, at least. I did that for several months before growing tired of their mismanagement, and I left to work for another company. It sounds like an absolute disaster. I'm sure not every company's like this, but, yeah, it seems to be a theme. I drove long haul for another year before deciding to move into sectors that allowed me to have more of a life outside of a truck cab. Today, I'm fortunate enough to work for a fantastic outfit that really appreciates its employees and allows me to be home every night and on the weekends. As for the ultimate fate of Kevin, well, I can't really say with any real certainty. Despite everything, I don't hate him. I hope that he was able to get the help that he needed and turn his life around. If so, then at least some good would have come out of everything that happened. Ah, that's such a great way to look at it, OP. Proud of you. And with that, the saga of First Kevin comes to an end. For those of you that have followed this story since the beginning, I honestly hope that you don't find this ending a disappointment and worth your time and torturous cliffhangers that I have, albeit reluctantly, subjected you to. On a more serious note, while I used humor to lighten the tone of previous episodes, I would be remiss if I did not remind you that these stories are all true. That the 3-month period in which the bulk of this story takes place was anything but humorous. If reading about the trip through the blizzard was terrifying, imagine feeling that way each night before you went to bed, and you would have some idea what I really endured 7 years ago. But that nightmare is long over, and sharing these stories with you wonderful people has helped me to put to rest a dark chapter of my life that I wasn't even aware still haunted me. If you haven't done so, please check out my man ReddX over at YouTube channel ReddX. ReddX has covered this entire series and his narration is top notch. Oh, thank you so much. You're too kind. Until next time, dear readers, remember, if someone offers you a Kevin, just say no. Oh, Kevin, you idiot. I do kind of want to feel bad for him at the end because he's like, help me, OP. When really OP is the one that pulled the trigger on him. But yeah, you kind of pulled the trigger on yourself, making everybody's life torturous because it was your great big dream to be a truck driver. And you are obviously not fit for that job. Don't lie on the forums. I don't know why nobody was prosecuted for this, okay? I would have come down like the hammer of the gods, smashed everybody that was involved with this. But then again, I got more of a heavy hand than most people, I do suppose. The Blizzard story, it did have me on the edge of my seat. And then the Kevin stuff, I do admit that it was slightly anticlimactic, but the whole Department of Transportation coming down on this trucking company, that was pretty juicy stuff right there. I love just how mismanaged this company was. It's kind of hilarious to me that OP stuck around even after all that shit. He's like, maybe it'll be better now. Oh no, it's not better. I gotta go. I'm glad you made it through, OP. Honestly, I do hope that Kevin gets some things figured out because, yeah, he has a lot to get figured out, but really, at the end of the day, it's all up to him, okay? Nobody can fix it for him. He's got a lot of work to do on himself, and I don't know if he's ready for all that, honestly. I suppose time will tell, but we over here will never know for sure. So just fingers crossed, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I hope that you like, comment, and or subscribe. Hey, that's a pretty big brain play right there. Maybe check out them links in the description if you want. Plugs, playlists, podcasts, you know, Teespring, Amazon affiliate, Spotify, iTunes, all kinds of crazy stuff down there. We've also got my social medias, Twitter, Discord, Facebook, Twitch, where we live stream this whole thing. We've also got my channel members over on YouTube, my patrons over on, Patreon. I'd like to thank them as I do every episode, Jerry much. So, thank you too. Phantom Danica, Train Boy, Liquor Less Loser, Organic Steve, Skylar, May, Amara, The Gypsy Barber, Fire Drake, Samantha, Death Flagship, Bearded Snake, and buy two, get one hand. Yes! Switching it over to Patreon, we've got Dark Luscious, Harley Holland, Robert Allen Waits, Camille Sarah, Chancellor Blue Kraken, Roxanne Wolf, Sim, Jerry Conrad, Iggy, Captain Clan, Jerry, Aaron, Jerry, Esteban, for all blank side, Organic Steve, Beat Tomlin, Mega Mouse, Without Tail, Jerry, Beg for Forgiveness, No Forgiveness, Silent Revolver, PCB, Fluxer, The Jerry of Industry, The Original Jerry, Jerry, Tick Jerry, Destiny Piper, Jerry, Kitsune, Salty Wizard, 211 Jerry, The Two Jerrys, A Very Tired Jerry, A Trusty Dargonian Jerry, and Frankenberry, Ain't That a Hiding Bitch Though, Assassin Punch Jerry, Aurora Wildheart, The Moon Baron, Baby Jerry, Bailey Joy, Bearded Jerry, Benji and the Jets, Bitch Gremlin, Blade the Hero, Blip Jerry, Bronze Dragon, Catholic Jerry, Commander J Tech, Courtney K Wood, Welcome to the Fold, Dennis Dane, Dr. Larks, Aaron Era, Esports, Rose Never Studio, Fire Drake, Get to What the Doodles, Shameless Plug, Get commissions open, yeah, check it out. Adrian BR, I'm Slim Jerry, I'm the real Jerry, I want a Slim Jerry system imitating Inquisitor Jerry, Irish Pirate Jerry, Cut a Stowaway Jerry, Iron Hollow, Irradiated Jam, Jay, I'm Coon Jerry, Blacktail, Jerry the Outlaw, Mother Trucker, Hong Kong, Jerry, Maya was a bullfrog, John Hero, Crowley, Cuddly Dragon, Legend Maker, Miss Monday, Lord Jerry-O, Luca was a clever Patreon name, like and subscribe, Lady Dix, Milano Man, Melgar the Destroyer, Metal Factor, Needless King, Paragon Soul, Phantom of Vines, Jerry Beth, Queens, Quaaludes and Quagmires, Ramtide, Lacramates, Rose, Jerry Miller, Sarita the Lolita, Sassy Octopus, Scarlet Kevin, Sergeant Gay Cop, Bringer of the Law, Silo Imp, Stephanie Goodner, Empty Boomstick, Brilliant Tomago, Tabby, Blue Tato Fair, the Gypsy Barber, the Italian Ray Hundino, the Little Sue, the Witcher Fusky, trying to find another mob to get back to the real world. You probably don't want to blow to that balloon, not. V3 Prime, Vanguard Angel, Viking Jerry, Wiki Tag, Zephyr the Gargoyle, or Clay, Comrade Mooney, Kira, not another Jerry, but he is though. Redwind, not Viper, Saints Blessing, Third Step, Venom Jerry, Wasabi Jerry, Jace Christensen, One Leg Jerry, the Neckbeard Hunter, a normal Jerry, holds up a giant bag of popcorn, Bravo, snacks, and shit. Admiral T-Tank, Amber Alder, Atomic Jerry Zilla, Bartender Kelia, Blueberry and Apple Pie, Broken Spine Horseradish, Cake Jerry, California Jerry Go, Shepherd Seven Lock, Chicago Panda, Corey Desart, sometimes, Cryptides, Stefan Jerry, Defter Tuna, Dopamine Dane Jerry, is Dwarfy Dude, Dose Mouth, the Heek and I. Inside you there are two wolves, one is cringe, the other is cringe, you are cringe. Inside you there are no wolves, only a chihuahua. Yo quiero Taco Bell. Janitor Jerry is roaming the streets of Finland, hunting down the Rudo headband. Jeffy, Geralta of Arabia, Jerry and Tom versus Happy New Year's, Weird Apocalypse, Jerry Springer. The results are in, you are not the neckbeard. Jerry the Sussy Baka, Jerry's mom has got it going on. Check out the mustache on Jerry Aldo Rivera. Jerry Boxers, Jerry Role-Playing Game, Keen Tails, Kid Marvelous, Kids Again, Lucia Lovecraft, Machia CD. Maybe next time, Milkfed Kip, Miss Duchess, Not Invisible Angel, Raptor Arc, Sylvan Dark, She's my Jerry Pie, Skymar Ravenswood, Snary, that's Snom Jerry, Snowbeard, what is best in life? To crush these teddies and to cheat at tabletop, and to hear the elations of your waifu. Spooky the Rogue, Spoopy Scary, Jerry Ton is relevant all year round. Techno Dubs, the original Jerry, there are two wolves inside me, Spit Roasted Jerry. To Infinite Jerry and beyond, Unkale, throws 2 Liter Mountain Dew, grow by neckbeard, grow. It's your time, hold ReddX Morpher, Hygiene, it's your time, hold ReddX Morpher, Humility, and also thank you to my $1 patrons as well. Bless up all the Jerrys and not Jerrys alike, beautiful people that they are. If you can assist them in supporting the channel monetarily, that is huge, no lie. But if you can't afford to do so right now, don't sweat it too hard, friends. I just appreciate you coming on through, hanging out with me, and I hope that you come on back and hang out with me again tomorrow. In order to do so, you need to keep yourself safe out there, wash your hands, but also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoyed today. Maybe like, watching some more ReddX videos, right? Got all kinds of videos, right? You're gonna watch them, right? Cool. All right. Promise? Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, friends, bye-bye.